Auto sales have dropped in 11 of the last 12 months, and the latest car sale figures from SIAM, the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, underlines once again the crisis that the industry is reeling under. As per the latest monthly data, there's been a drop of 25% in sales of cars domestically as compared to last year. Overall, passenger vehicle sales have dropped 18%. It's the same story in two-wheelers as well, where sales have dropped nearly 12% year on year. So is the auto slump with a consistent drop in sales figures now pointing to a longer-term trend rather than seasonal factors like the election cycle that was cited a few months ago? Is the slump that has hit the sector reflective of the state of the broader economy? And does this sector now need policy intervention? To speak on all this and more, I'm joined now by Nikunj Sanghi, Director of FADA, that's the Dealers Association, Gaurav Bangal, a country lead of automotive forecast at IHS Market, and Jagdish Khattar, CMD of Carnation Auto. Welcome to all of you and thank you for speaking with us today. Mr. Sanghi, let me start by asking you what the broad trend now indicates. We've seen data over the last 1 year, the SIAM data now indicating to you that this is a longer trend than was first believed?
Definitely is, and I think it has to, like you rightly said, something to do with the basic state of the economic sentiment. I think it is also reflecting in other sectors where consumption patterns are going down, and it is reflective of the mood of the consumer. Vehicles or automobiles are discretionary buys. And if the customer is not able to take decisions on non-discretionary purchases, then obviously discretionary purchases will be pushed into the background. And I feel that a lot of intervention is required by the government to see that the auto industry, which contributes to nearly 49% of the manufacturing GDP and almost 8% to the entire GDP of the country, that they need to see that this sector remains healthy. And this sector also is the provider of a huge number of jobs. If you take the entire ecosystem from component manufacturers to vehicle manufacturers to sales and after sales done by dealerships. I think this definitely requires very active intervention of the government.
Okay, we'll come to what intervention in just a bit from now. But Mr. Sanghi, I just want to come to you on one more point of the state of dealers. For example, reports that we have done on ET now indicate that there could be up to 300 dealerships which have shut down in the last 1 year. What is happening at that end of the spectrum in the sector?
I will not be able to comment on the number of dealerships which have shut down or which are under stress, but the fact is that the liquidity crisis has hit the dealerships, and it started with GST. So while GST is an extremely welcome step, which I think as dealers or the entire auto industry has welcomed, and we had been advocating for a taxation law like GST to come in. It's one of the most far-reaching reforms that this government has taken. But the problem lies in the fact that as a result of the implementation of GST, our requirement of working capital has gone up by almost 20%. And because retails are not happening, we are saddled with inventories. And with higher inventory costs, bigger inventory exposure that is required in terms of the GST component becoming a part of our purchase price, I think unless liquidity is handled, there will be pressures on the dealerships to sustain, to become viable, and therefore remain healthy.
Okay. The rest, of course, is anecdotal evidence. People talk about empty dealerships, etc. Gaurav, let me just come to you to ask what, your research has shown. And the basic question that we started with, is this now beyond seasonal factors? Because even after the press conference where these numbers, we've taken this, as a starting point for this conversation came up, there was commentary that we are hoping for an uptick during the festive season. Is this something that can be fixed with that kind of a sentiment push, or is it a broader problem we're looking at right now?
I think your understanding is right that this is not a seasonal now. This is going to be a broader one, and if we see what is going to happen in next 6 months, I think this is a major serious concern for we people. The liquidity issue, what Mr. Sanghi has just now mentioned. Now this is tumbling down all the cycle, the values supply cycle for the automotive industry, and I do not have any hope now from the what do you say, from the numbers. I have only hope coming from the November and December, and what I expect going forward is that if the inventory is very high, which we have seen in the past, I don't see any pre-buy effect coming into next 6 months, what everybody is expecting right now. But I think whatever the inventory is standing it currently in the market, that is going to absorb into that is going to cover for the pre-buy. That nothing else is going to happen now. I think only November, December is the hope. The reason is the last year base was very low for November, December, and if we do not able to do the November, December, we are going negative, a strong negative, what I expect from auto industry this year.
Okay, so November, December are the numbers to watch out for. But Jagdish Khattar, can you come in with your perspective on the reasons why we're seeing this? Now, the report says car sales have been impacted because of a slowed economy, low consumer sentiment, lack of finance availability, drop in rural demand, etc. These look like or sound like problems which will take time to resolve themselves. Is it this, or are they also a situation where the car market is now matured in India and what you're seeing is a natural drop off in demand?
I think many points have been already mentioned by my panelist here, but personally I think that we are in for a long haul as far as the present situation is concerned.
Yeah.
Liquidity and all is there, is linked to the economy, but there are many other things that have taken place and they are not going to get resolved, and I doubt very much if government intervention will help also. Let me give you an example. First of all, I think finance etc. is there, then the Supreme Court comes with a decision that you have to take 3 to 5 years of insurance. You jack up this. 2 years back, of the total market, the diesel was 40-45%. It is now below 20%. Within a year and a half, can you convert 25% of the overall market into petrol? No way. Then we have Euro 6 coming. Euro 6 would mean further increase in price. If at today's price we are not able to sell, and if the price goes up again by 10-15% or something like varying model to model, the situation is likely to get worse. Then, I mean, you said about the metro. Metro cities is a problem today. You have congestion, you have parking problems. People have started thinking whether it is worthwhile or why not use Ola and Uber. These are the things which give you an alternative, and you start thinking about it and you postpone the thing. Now the other is young people we have seen, they are not aspiring for this. Their first preference is going abroad. Second is fitness. So whereas few years back, as soon as you got a job, you looked for a car.
Yeah.
Today they have options available. They are not doing it. Then EV, the debate on electric vehicles, coming, not coming, when coming, what price. 1/3 of the 30-40% of the people who buy car are for the first time. Let me finish. The other 60% are those who change, upgrade, or who add another one. Now, even few percentage of this 60% were to postpone, you will have this problem. So, having said all this, so I think nothing is going to, things are not going to improve. Government intervention will not help. November, December is not likely to help very much. And then as far as dealerships are concerned, the two major manufacturers have 65% of the market. Other balance 20% have 30% of the market, 2-3% each.
Yeah.
How can the dealers survive with small volumes? So I think there is a huge problem as far as the auto industry is concerned.
Well, a pretty gloomy outlook in the first comments that have come in, but some interesting points that Mr. Khattar made, and I would like to get responses from the rest of our panel about how behavioral changes could be impacting the industry and sales, and how those will go forward. Let me come to you, Gaurav, on that. He mentioned kids, wanting to go abroad and get into fitness. Though, people still want to drive to their gyms, and you're talking about a very small percentage of the market. Ola, Uber, have they had an impact on auto sales? Where do you stand on that? Do you think behavioral changes are now to that extent that they will impact sales in India?
See, I think there is an impact from the behavioral changes, yes, but we need to understand that we are struggling with the congestion also. As Mr. Khattar has rightly said, that there's no parking anywhere, and you does not want to waste their time for finding a parking. I think, and if we see the metropolitan cities today, if we Delhi, Mumbai, they are not growing. They are already at the saturated level from last 2-3 years. They are just maintaining their numbers anyhow, and the growth is coming from the cities like Jammu, Lucknow. These cities are growing right now. All the youth, whatever what we talk about the millennials. They do not want to drive because of the congestion and the parking issues right now.
Okay, let me get in Mr. Sanghi's view on that. The youth is not buying cars; they'd rather carpool or go in for services like Ola, Uber. Parking is definitely a big issue in cities like Mumbai and Delhi. In fact, in Mumbai, you have to pay really big fines if you park in no parking zones. Do you think all of these factors are also contributing, and if so, to what extent? How significant is the contribution of these behavioral changes?
So I will not say that there is no impact of behavioral changes. There is an impact of behavioral changes. But in the same breath, I would also want to say that the potential of the India market continues to be extremely huge. When we talk of penetration levels, we are talking of 22 to 27 vehicles per thousand. And if that be so, then there's still a huge pool available who would want to buy vehicles in spite of these behavioral changes. So why is that pool not coming in? And I think that is the pool that we need to get concerned about. These are natural, that shared mobility, parking, congestion, that's impacting probably the metros. It's also impacting some of the larger towns or mini metros, as you might call it, but that is 25-30 cities of the country. What about tier 2, tier 3 cities which were driving the growth? The entire growth was being driven by tier 2, tier 3 cities. And if customers there are not buying, then there's obviously something more than just the behavioral changes. And I think as an industry, we need to address those potential customers and see how we can get them back into a buying mood.
Okay, let me take that further. And in fact, Mr. Khattar, let me come to you on that. So behavioral changes may impact the metros and small segment, but Mr. Sanghi has a point. A lot of the growth could come from tier 2 cities. That's where the potential upside is. What do you think is holding people back there and in those market segments? Is it then in those spaces a reflection of the broader economy, where even if the money is there, the sentiment may not be there to put down a commitment to pay X number of EMIs over a longer period of time?
No, listen, as far as before you take me to be a pessimistic, I am not pessimistic.
No.
In the long run,
yes,
the potential is there. People may not use cars in the big cities during the weekdays. They'll certainly use during the weekends. So all sorts of permutation combinations will take place in cities tier 2, 3. Yes, growth will be there. But today, does the consumer have confidence? Jobs are not coming up. Person who has got a job, I have talked to people. They say, sir, क्या करेंगे? अभी गाड़ी है, कल कहीं नौकरी चली जाएगी तो फिर EMI क्या देगा? घर कैसे चलाएंगे? So it's the whole atmosphere which is there, that consumer confidence has to come back. The environment has to be there, and the animal spirit and all that we are talking about, that has to come back, and that will come by block by block. It's not going to take place overnight. So point I'm making is that there are, to say the festival will improve, year end will improve, slight here, a percentage here, couple of percentage there, but on a sustained basis it will take time. Economy has to grow, there has to be a more confidence in jobs, the finance has to come back. I mean, so I've given all possible things.
No,
so
no,
there is
absolutely.
no one solution. There are a number of things, and they'll come one by one as we go along.
No, no, absolutely. And by no stretch of the imagination am I saying that you're a pessimist, Mr. Khattar. I think everyone on the panel is reflecting what they're seeing, and which is why we're doing this debate. So now the next leg of it, the next logical leg of it, is that how long of a cycle can the industry really afford? Because, all players in this industry and the sector need to last out that cycle. So, if you're going to wait for consumer confidence to pick up, then how long is that cycle, and do you need policy intervention in this specific industry? Gaurav, let me come to you with that point.
Okay, so if you ask me what kind of policy intervention is required, I think there is only one policy which auto industry is looking right now, that is the scrappage policy. If a government can help us to bring a scrappage policy, I think that will be very helpful for the complete automotive ecosystem. Now, with the scrappage policy, we expect that approximately 5 million of the cars are going to get out from the market, and immediately we will have a good potential from the market, and immediately the cycle will start revolving, and we will have a growth back. Everybody, I think every manufacturer is asking for this, and every analyst is asking for this, and we are really looking for the government intervention on this policy.
Okay, so Gaurav is betting on a scrappage policy, which essentially means that after a certain limit, you dump the old cars, so people are forced to buy new ones. Is that how it's really going to work if consumer sentiment is not so great? Maybe public transport will improve by then. Maybe these people will also move to Ola, Uber. I don't know if that's going to help. Mr. Sanghi, scrappage policy, would that be your number one answer in terms of policy intervention?
So I will not want to say a number one or a number two answer, and I
You
think
can
Mr.
give
Khattar
3, 4, no
very
problem.
rightly said that there will be a lot of interventions which will be required, and yes, scrappage policy is going to be an important variable in the various interventions which are required. So scrappage policy is going to help. What is also going to help is bringing back liquidity to the market, which means to NBFCs, which means more money in the hands of the consumer. Third is a clarity in terms of what the government policy is. There is a lot of confusion whether diesel will last, will only gasoline sell, when will EVs come in, what is the time frame where the EVs will come in, will EVs become affordable, should I be making an investment today, should I not be making an investment today. So I think there is a plethora of things which is happening. We welcome the initiative taken by the government when it comes to EV, because EV is the future. But is it going to be implemented the way it is? And is it the right timeline? Should we do a step-by-step approach? I think those are things that need serious discussions and from the entire ecosystem. And I think the ecosystem is with the government. Ecosystem appreciates everything that the government is doing in terms of making the environment clean, making the cities more livable. And it is in the interest of citizens that the pollution levels go
I'm
down.
surprised I've not heard anything about GST rates from the panel this evening. Is that no longer an issue? We heard a lot about it before the last GST meet. That take down, from 28 to 12, bring the GST rates down. Is that no longer a big ask, or is that not really going to move the needle either way, Mr. Sanghi?
So yeah, GST is a big ask because that will make vehicles more affordable. I mean, I will limit myself to just giving you an example in two-wheelers. And I think two-wheelers, we saw that the entire demand sentiment went down when insurance rates went up together, which means that you need to get your vehicle insurance done for 5 years, third-party insurance, all this. It pushed up the prices by almost 7,000-8,000 rupees, and that actually triggered the downfall in the consumer demand for two-wheelers. Now, if that be the case, I'm sure a trigger would happen if there is some softening of GST rates, which makes two-wheelers more affordable. Because affordable two-wheelers are not luxuries, they are necessities. Mobility is the key to growth. For your jobs, for your movement from tier 3 to tier 2, from tier 2 to tier 1, because public transport is just not there. You need your individual independent mobility. So GST is definitely an ask, and it's going to remain an ask.
Okay, meanwhile, I just want to bring in one more perspective into this conversation, and Mr. Khattar, I'll come to you. There are a lot of reports that amidst all this gloom and doom and slump in the auto sector, the used car market is zooming. There's some estimates that there's a 12% growth year on year. Is that also indicative maybe of where we are in our, maturity as a market? That frenetic pace of new launches aside, maybe people who are looking for options are seeing, used cars as a pretty good option where the churn is much faster than it used to be.
You're right. I think I should have mentioned used car also, because even though the overall car industry, new car industry is in single digits positive, low single digits, used car is going up by 10 to 15%. But that is the trend all over. In India, used car and new car ratio is still 1:1 is 1.2 or 3. Overseas is more than 2. So the people who wish to upgrade, my point is, let's first look at it. The life of the car has increased because of the technology. People's mileage is low, but the age vintage takes place, and the depreciation is on the years and not on the mileage. So a person who sells a car, many of them who sell it after 3-4 years, is only done 30,000 kilometers, is good enough for another lakh kilometers. So and you can get that car at 60% of the new car. So the point is that customers are having more choices, and they can go in for second-hand car as a third car in the family or an upgradation. So yes, that is also making a difference. Now, can I just share a point, though it is nothing to do with automobiles?
Yes.
I've started taking an interest in promoting bicycles, and I can share with you, the government is now keen on promoting bicycles because of the congestion and other things, and saving fuel. So you'll soon find in a couple of years, for short distances, bicycles will be competing with cars and two-wheelers.
Oh, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on whether bicycles will compete with cars and two-wheelers, and we're moving towards that as a trend? And Gaurav, along with that, can you also come in on how this looks for the industry now? If you're going to see a consistent slide in demand, maybe big players in this sector now have to start a rethink on their strategies going forward.
I think yes, they have to rethink about their strategies now. I think the major concern going forward for the market leaders and some major players is the diesel, and with the emission norms coming in from April 2020, I think diesel is a major concern, and strategies are being drawn on the diesel side right now, because some of them have already said that they are not going to continue with the diesel going forward. I think it's a very tough time for them. The lot of strategies are also been is in discussion for the discounts and how to destock the inventories before these emission norms get applicable, and how to restock it. And I think this is an uncertainty, full of uncertainty phase for next 9 months for auto industry, and we need to see that, because strategy has to be done every day now. The vehicle which is of high value, specifically because it's an average price of the vehicle is approximately 6 to 7 lakh rupees today. I think no manufacturer is going to take a risk with a single vehicle if it is getting started after 31st of March. I think this is the major concern for them, and every day they are planning and their new strategies. Every day they are coming out of something.
Absolutely. The next buzzword, of course, is EVs. I don't know what the strategy with EVs will be and how good a time it is for EVs as they pick up. And we'll have to wait and see how car manufacturers now push in that direction. Because first they have to get people to buy the cars that are already piling up in inventory. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us in the debate this evening. We hope that those who make the decisions, the policy makers, are watching and contemplating how to really boost this sector and this industry, which is so key to jobs, employment and economic growth overall.